Hello everyone, Ahmed is here. Today I'm here with my friend Timmy and we're gonna talk about 5 reasons why foreigners love to live in Taiwan. So let's get started. Tell us what is your first impression when you arrived to Taiwan for the first time and how do you feel about this?
Okay. Hi, I'm Timmy. I'm from America. And one day, I just bought a flight and came to Taiwan. It was September. And in September, in Taiwan, it's very hot and humid. So off the plane, my first impression was there's something very wrong. But it was just the heat and the humidity. And then my second impression was how polite everyone is. So I got off the plane, got in a taxi. Everyone was so darn nice. I thought there was something wrong as well.
The politeness is, I think, it's a big thing in Taiwan. Like you're gonna notice that, even if you're just actually doing well, or you even been here many years and you speak Chinese, but people gonna see you standing on a train station waiting for someone, but they're gonna come to you and ask, hey, do you need some help, or are you lost or something, or like, and it's very like genuine help.
That's right. You can be here for 5 years, and they see you're a foreigner. They'll still say, welcome to Taiwan. How many years do you have to be here before it's not a welcome?
It's
a sweet thing. Yeah, and it's because they see a foreigner and they know they need to help them. So no matter what, they will generally try to help you as much as you can. They'll go out of your way.
Yeah, like for example, if you look for directions on the road, it's not like, I don't know, where am I? And it's just, can you just point this place on the Google map? No, let me take you there. Like, oh, do you just follow me? I'll go there with you. But I wouldn't say it's only for foreigners. I would say it's a general thing in Taiwan. Yeah, I remember like many years ago, like we went to Lisong to the hot spring in Taidong. We didn't do too much research, to be honest. Like we're used to living in Taiwan. Everything's convenient, and there's a gas station everywhere. There's 7-Eleven everywhere. So why would you even worry about how much gas is in your scooter? But things change when you go to the mountains. Like you ride a scooter and you see, it's like a half tank at the moment. Don't worry, there must be a gas station. It's Taiwan. And we keep riding. So we arrive to Lisong, to the hot spring was wonderful. I really like this place. But yeah, actually we weren't able to come back with the gas we have in our tanks. But well, you're in Taiwan, so what's the problem? You just go to the closest village and ask around if somebody can help you with the gas. I remember some people sold me a little gas, and in your case it was even better. Like you went to someone and no, they need to pay, right?
I think it was the police station.
Really?
We were asking around where gas was, and they're like, oh, we got some gas. I'm like, okay, we'll give you money.
Yeah.
No, we don't want money.
Yes.
But that was the only way we could get out. And it was a small little mountain town, probably not, and there's no fancy buildings, but they wanted to help.
Yeah, it's always like this in Taiwan. Yeah, so I think definitely politeness is one of those things that foreigners get attracted with when they come to Taiwan. And it's really like heart melting in some cases, I would say. Like it's really sweet and nice. And actually, after a few years here, you're probably gonna, adapt to the local rules. And like I see myself now, like whenever I go somewhere, like I overuse words sorry or like 对不起, like 不好意思, or like say thank you like 5 times for something. But that's like the culture here, and but you feel like part of the bigger family, like part of something really nice going on, and I think it's beautiful here. Me and Timmy used to travel a lot around Taiwan. I remember Timmy at some stage even bought a second scooter or motorcycle.
Yeah.
And what did you do with it?
We have one scooter in town here, and then on the East Coast where it's all mountains and rugged, we bought another scooter out there. Because to take the scooter, it takes 5 hours and your back hurts already.
Yeah, I remember the trips from Kaohsiung, riding scooter all the way to Taidong. It is beautiful, but it hurts. But if you want to explore one area, It's a pity like spending your time really on the traffic, you know.
You can just start exploring from there. So you can either go to Taidong, and there's so much to go from there, as well as Hualien. You could spend.
At the same time, even Taiwan is not that big, but you have so many varieties here of the climate, like of the landscapes, like from seaside, from white beaches, like in Kenting. Not even talking about Penghu or other islands. Then you also have the mountains. You have hot springs.
Well, you said it with how you have the West Coast is all developed, convenient cities, but you got to get out. And the island is not very big when you look at a map.
Yeah, but it's big enough. Like it's just right size.
But I was thinking how you think of travel times in bigger countries, either Europe or North America. How many kilometers you can get done in a day. In Taiwan, unless you're on the expressway, you don't get to go that far. It's because there's so many mountain roads, and these are the best roads for adventuring. You can see so much, and it goes from sea level to 3,000 meters so quickly. That's why you have so many different biodiversity things going on, so many different plant life. The butterflies, there's so many species, but also the monkeys don't like them. But yeah, there's bears. I've seen some crazy birds.
You can do snorkeling like in Xiaolioqiu and see the turtles.
Oh, the turtles there, yeah.
And also in
Penghu has also turtles, yeah.
So amazing.
Some of the best snorkeling, the best coral I've ever seen was off Orchid Island.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can get some of the best snorkeling.
You know, really, you can just take a scooter. Let's say you live in Taichung, you can take a scooter, go to Nantou. You live in Kaohsiung, you can ride a scooter to Pingdong. And it's in like 1-2 hours, it's like completely different world. You know, like if you live in Kaohsiung, you have an airport, you have, you know, Gaotie, you have metro, or you have department stores, which is like super developed life. At the same time, you know, you take like 2 hours ride to Pingdong. There are waterfalls, lots of rural areas where you see pineapples that grow on the ground. Pineapples don't grow on the trees.
They grow up.
Yes, like a cabbage. Yeah, like you go to the fish market and they say, hey, I want to get this fish. Yeah, it's okay. We could cook it for you. No problem. You know, it's crazy.
You have the convenience of the city, but the natural beauty is also it's what keeps you here.
But it's still composed in the city. You know, like if you like look at the views of Taipei, well, you go to this Elephant Mountain Trail, and you know you have the mountain left and right. At the same time, you have this like the skyscrapers, some of them, and behind there is still mountains. I think it's really like interesting, like living together with the nature. Even if it's a huge city, like you know, you can find lots of places, like even like 20-30 minutes away. Like in Kaohsiung, you have Monkey Mountain. Too. I know you have some hiking trails in Taichung like this. So like. You go like there in a few minutes, you're like completely different world. So I think that's really good in Taiwan.
Take trains or buses. You don't even need to take a scooter. And hitchhiking, as we know,
hitchhiking works here.
The easiest I've ever seen. And yeah, as we said about the hospitality, people will pick you up, even if you're not even trying to hitchhike. They'll try to help you. They'll take you to dinner. They don't even know you, but they're doing the best.
I had this situation once that like I went with my friend to Taiwan for the first time. And then we hitchhiked back to Kaohsiung. I remember somebody stops there, and on the way they stop by the seaside. They show us like a pebble beach, like explaining like the stones have some meaning for the local people. Later they stopped by, and it was already on the west coast in Shizi County, and they took us to the buffet restaurant. At that time the owner was like a Buddhist lady who was saying, well, you know, you pay whatever you feel like for the food. So she was cooking vegetarian food every day, and people swing by, they eat there, and they can, you know, pay whatever they want for it. After that, it's still with the same people. They say, oh, you guys, you go to Kaohsiung, but we only go to Pingdong. So we take you to the train station, and we're gonna buy you tickets for train. We're like, no, don't need. And like they didn't let us buy the tickets. They forced us to get their tickets, and like it's extremely friendly here, really.
Yeah, I have a similar story where we were up on Road 20, Highway 20 that crosses the island. It's closed from the middle because of how stark the landscape is. It keeps getting washed away. But there's this tiny little village, and we found this little restaurant, and we were hungry and cold, and we were eating there, and the lady was charging us a small price for the food, And then she asked if we wanted to stay at her house because she had a little inn, and it was again really cheap. But we tried to refuse because we were gonna camp and leave in the morning. And she kept saying, no, please stay. And then we said, oh no, we don't have any money. We don't have enough money. And we need to get gas or something. So she's like, oh, okay. So she started handing us all this money to get gas. I'm like, no, that's okay.
Oh
so we had to leave because she was worried.
Yeah,
we
like,
didn't have enough supplies.
The kindness, actually, it's like Taiwanese kind of confuse the idea of hitchhiking. It's not exactly that you don't have money for traveling, and some people like they think like you were like robbed, or you really end up without money, and they really want to help you. They really like feel, but actually it's all okay with hitchhiking and traveling. It's just you want to have different kind of experience. You want to actually be closer to the culture, because if you take a train or you take a bus, you kind of with other tourists, then it's more, they're not so close to each other. Mm-hmm. But if you sit in someone's car, it's a natural interaction that you're gonna start talking to them, exchange, you know, some stories, and this way you make your experience more interesting. Just pointing.
That's a good point. I remember one day we were hitchhiking up to Yushan, the highest mountain. We were gonna try to hike it, and we were hitchhiking at 3 a.m. And this guy is driving us up these tiny roads through Alishan where they have all the tea roasters. And he's like, hey, would you mind if we stop at one of my friend's tea roasters? I'm like, sure. So we see them roasting tea, because once they start, they have to keep the machines going 24 hours for a few days. And we're over there helping them move tea, and we're roasting tea with them. And those are the kinds of experiences you wouldn't get if you only took a bus or you stayed straight on the path.
Yeah.
So it's not only about hitchhiking, it's about being open to the human connection. Back home, back in your home country, there's a lot of laborious things that you have to do, go to the bank, all this stuff. When you come to a new country, I think you have a wide-eyed view of everything. You think everything's kind of fun and different. Yeah. I remember when we were on that Lisong trip, I was coming around the turn a little fast and my back tire popped.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that? And I thought it was a little scary, but I also thought,
you know, like on the road, no insurance.
No insurance. Oh yeah. Luckily, we just slowed down and we were okay. We were right by a temple, so it was all safe. I remember getting on an elevator to go to the Central Park subway station, and an older lady, she's like, oh hey, and then she asked if I'd eaten yet.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a Taiwanese greeting. It's like, "Ni jia fa pui." I'm like, yeah, I ate, but what if I hadn't eaten? Would we have? I don't know where she was going. It's like, let's stop everything.
You don't want to start.
We're gonna go eat because you haven't eaten.
Yeah.
Would that have happened?
Like you really have to be careful, because I think people are gonna take it seriously. Like you haven't eaten, and like, you know, like I would say that at some time, you know, like, hi May, and then the funny things happen. Like, what should I do with my life? You know, like, should I get him like food, or like, you know, like, it's like you don't say that. Like you always yes, like yo.
yeah. Japa.
The culture language, which is another reason why lots of foreigners love Taiwan, because of this friendliness and many human reactions. Like, you're very close to people already here. Like, you know, if you go to restaurants, like sometimes people from the next table, you know, talk to you. Mm-hmm. And because of that, sooner or later you're gonna pick up some Chinese, and the more you pick up Chinese, like, the more people are happy. So, like, for example, like I recently even like to learn some Taiwanese, like, you know, like funny things. Like, it's not serious, you know, but I pick up the word adoa, and you know, it doesn't mean anything, but nobody expects you to speak any Taiwanese. Mm-hmm. So, like, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I go to Costco, and there are like the lady who's giving samples. Mm-hmm. She's talking to 2 other ladies next to her, and they look at the shelf, and there is something they cannot reach because they're not tall enough. And you know, obviously I wouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah. But so they talk with each other and say like, adoa, and they point at me, but they, like, you know, they put all the money in their bag, and they wouldn't believe I know what it means. So I come to them, like, we're standing next to each other, like, not really like an angry face, but like serious face, and like, adoa sisei. and they're like, but they explain that they want to reach the thing. It's really like a funny situation, but I think it's really like it's lots of fun to learn like few words in Taiwanese, but especially learning Mandarin. It's like for me, it's like never-ending fun.
If they know that you're a foreigner, their expectations are
zero.
They're so low. They think, I don't know if it's a compliment or an insult, but I think they think they give you the benefit of the doubt. Like, oh, this guy just got here, he needs help. But if you just go a little bit, you say a few words, you learn a little bit, it goes so far. They're so impressed. You even pronounce Taiwan with the correct tones.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, wow.
It's not possible.
How did you know?
It's like a magic trick.
Yeah, they just don't expect it, which is nice in some ways, that they don't push you.
You meet some people who actually don't speak any English, and they are not able to speak, English with you, so they treat you like a local, because they have no other way. They cannot, put this, like English thing on you. You go to some places and you talk to them in Chinese, and they're like so happy, like a natural conversation. It's like you don't have this pressure, like a foreigner speaking English here, but I think it's like one of the most interesting conversations. With like, or you go to the park, and some people play mahjong or some people play chess, and they like talk to you, you talk to them back, and have like a longer conversation. It's like, I think it's like one of the most interesting like little things in Taiwan. Apart from the just learning Chinese, it's also interesting that how you understand people thinking. There's like learning Chinese is how you understand how people live and how they think. Like naming of the streets, for example, always come up with numbers, and actually it all has some story behind. So after a few months, you're like, why do you have these names? And after a few years, you're like, oh, I know. So this is behind that story, and that is like in Kaohsiung. Very funny thing is like you have the streets from Yixin to Sichuan, so they're like numbers from 1 to 10. So everybody who calls themselves Kaohsiung needs to be able to call them correctly, like in the order.
Yeah, and they all have their own stories and reasons behind it. Yeah, studying Chinese, it takes a lot of time because it's so different than like a European language. But once you put in the time, recognize some characters, you can do a lot, and you get to understand people better, I think, when you get into it. I remember I had a teacher, every time we learned a new character, she would tell this whole story about it, about ancient Chinese people, and whether or not it was true or whether it was related kind of didn't matter. It was fun to hear about it, and it connected you more to it. So when you see it, you have more of a understanding.
Like for me, I had like this moment, like I went to Sanmun, and they say it looks like the Chinese character for like Zhe and Yue, and I'm like, hey, but it doesn't look like this at all. And then I realized actually the Zhe, it comes from this old character, not the one that looks like a window with line in the middle, but the one that looks actually like the sun with the dot in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, bam, so this is the origin of the name. And like all this studying, those sounds like wasting time. But this moment, like the puzzles like stick together, you have the whole picture, you're like, wow, that was worth it. So I think it's really like fulfilling to learn Chinese.
Oh, for sure.
So like a very interesting Chinese characters, like if you look at like the word like volcano, like 火山, and it's like, it's like a fire mountain. Why is it not like this in English, Obviously there are some like Latin connections if you look deeper in it, but like still my favorite word in Chinese is the giraffe.
The giraffe.
Yeah.
The tall deer.
Tall deer, no, the long-necked deer.
The long-necked deer. It's like a tall horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, the long-necked deer.
Yeah, but the thing is, once you learn it, it's really interesting. Like,
yeah.
By the way, it's really easier to memorize in this way. If you imagine really deer with extremely long neck, well, you're gonna always imagine giraffe in Chinese.
The animal names are the funniest.
I think the owl is.
Owl. What is it?
Cat?
Is it cat, head, hawk?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
eagle?
Something like this.
Or a panda, is it cat bear or bear cat?
You can go both ways.
You can go both ways.
This is like wow.
Yeah.
But I love like reading menu in Chinese. Like even if you like Chinese sucks, but you can learn menu like in 1 week.
Yeah.
It's just the meat, but then you go what kind of animal meat, and then rice and noodles.
Rice and noodles.
And you're good to go.
Yeah.
And then you learn you have the dumplings boiled in the water. Then you learn tea. Then you learn 3 colors. 3 types of tea.
Yeah.
So I think it's like with like 50 characters in Chinese, you can. Well, you're maybe not gonna get the perfect flavor, but the ballpark definitely.
In Pingdong or East Coast or the more rural areas, how many times have you come across either an Aboriginal family or just anybody having a picnic? They're up there just hanging in the river or on the beach. They have a bunch of food, barbecuing, and what do? They always invite you. They see, come on, I want you to meet my family. I haven't met you.
You meet my ama,
You meet my grandma, she's 17. Yeah, that happens all the time. They always want you to come and eat with them and share a meal and drinks.
Yeah.
And dancing if it's Aboriginal. Badminton is fun. Most countries don't take it as serious. Right, it's not a serious or a fun game, but then when you get here, it is a serious game. You rent out a court, it's indoors.
Yeah.
People always ask if it's outdoors, like no, it is never outdoors. But yeah, that's another way to get into the culture. And I think it is the most fun game. The fun thing is you can start off and be a beginner, and you can still have fun, even if you play somebody really good. Then you get a little bit of an ego growing, you're feeling comfortable because you can beat a few people, and then you realize it's not all about physical prowess. You can be playing against a 9-year-old girl, and I've gotten my ass whooped many times. Like, oh man, she can't even stand up right. That racket's too big for her. And she can control it so well.
There's lots of unexpected things to do in Taiwan as well. Like, the things you do in your free time in your hometown are way different than here. We went once to the mountains, somewhere in Kaohsiung, on the way back on a scooter. It's a daylight, and there are like fireworks popping. Like, this is not a common scenario abroad, by the way. There are no fireworks during the day. In Taiwan, it's kind of normal. Like, you get used to after a few months. And we stopped there, and I see there's like a parade, and like some people inviting us. So like again, politeness plus the culture, plus traveling in Taiwan, which is all we can do all the time here. And they ask you, hey guys, I know, maybe you want to try this. And they have this huge mascot, like 3-4 meters tall, and you can wear it on your back and dance. And I say, you want to try? And like, why not? I never tried it before, but like, it's just where would you expect that going to happen? You're just going back home from the mountain, and suddenly you're dancing with some gods, on a parade in like a little village in the middle of nowhere. It's just, you would never, expect that. You can write things you're gonna do today, and that's gonna be to-do list for sure.
No, that is one of the beautiful things about Taiwan. Because you could say culture, and everywhere in the world has a different culture and something good you could get from it. But there are some things that I love the contrast. That you can be in a city with skyscrapers and modern shopping malls and a subway system, and there'll be a temple parade going by, a busy intersection. There'll be a Lamborghini, and then there'll be these litter after litter of these gods and idols passing by, and firecrackers going off. And then they'll be playing those horns kind of thing. That sounds terrible.
Bagpipes kind of sound. Like...
It's just this like little brass horn, and there's doesn't make a good sound.
Yeah, they don't.
But it's part of the experience, part of the feeling, and it's
by the whole set.
Yeah, I love the contrast, the juxtapositioning of this ancient tradition that is still firmly upheld. They don't care about anything else, but you can contrast that with modern technology.
Living is relatively cheap. Like if you're like a single person, you can rent a room. If you need a transportation, you can use public transportation, or you can just get a scooter and ride around. when the gas is way cheaper than in Europe. So I would say lots of foreigners love Taiwan because even they don't earn too much, like when staying here or like backpacking, kind of like having like gap year even, but they can really live a nice life here.
That's a great reason why foreigners love Taiwan, is you have modern conveniences, an advanced society, but you don't have the price that typically comes with it.
Yeah.
So young people just starting, living in a city, it's really tough in a Western developed nation
Exactly.
to make rent. If you want to have a decent lifestyle, you're gonna be sacrificing a lot.
When I was a student, I used to live in London for a while, and I was renting a balcony at some place, and I couldn't basically, if I sleep straight, I couldn't stretch my legs, so you have to sleep diagonal there, and that cost me like now it's a little lower, so like 13,000 NT dollars.
Yeah.
That was like eating up 1/3 of my budget, this small room like this.
The price of eating out as well, and the price of housing. There's such
no
a range.
Yeah. There's no eating out for students abroad.
But you can go to expensive places here in Taiwan. You can go to nice restaurants. You can get a really nice place for a good price. But
they're also reasonably priced.
Oh, for sure.
If you want something standard quality comparing to like high quality, it's not gonna be extremely more expensive. It's gonna be higher, but it's not gonna be that bad.
It's great to have an option, a cheaper option for a lot of people. Either you need it, or if you want to sacrifice for other things, you can really start off well. Like people on the lower end of incomes and all that, they're gonna be doing fine.
Usually when it's food, it's imported, or it's a foreign cuisine, and it's like authentic one. It comes with a higher price tag, but that actually pushes people to try the local food, which is usually cheaper. Hundreds of types of noodles, like beef noodles, or majamian, like sesame oil noodles, or like there's like the whole world to discover. You never heard about this if you live abroad, probably, unless you visit Chinatown or something. It's really like pushing you to trying these things. The price tag is one reason, but also fresher, locally made.
Yeah, there's a lot of food items that are repeated or just traditional ones, and every little corner of every town will have a different night market with a different version of lu wei or fried foods or all that. And you get to try the different ones, you get to try your local ones. And it changes your taste. Like I opened up my taste a lot. I did not really like seafood before I came, but now I love seafood. There's so much that I eat. And other organs, like chicken heart, I salivate over it. Like I have to wear a napkin now when I look at chicken heart. It's so good. And I opened up to that stuff because at first it's a little weird. Some things are weirder flavors.
Yeah, like very
different flavors.
Sometimes the translation, like the English name, is really scary. Like pig blood cake. It doesn't sound really that good. But if you try it, actually we eat similar stuff in Poland. It's like a sausage filled with pig blood.
Right.
So yeah.
And it's when you grow up with a different taste, you're not used to it. So once you branch out, once you get used to it, you end up liking it. And I end up liking so much of the food. And I always thought I would miss food from my home country, but it doesn't happen because there's so many other options.
Yeah, every day you have something new to discover, to be honest. And actually, like for foreigners' perspective is if you want to go to good Chinese restaurant abroad, or Japanese, or any Asian restaurant, you would like spend a fortune.
Yeah, you get Japanese food, Korean food, Vietnamese food, all for really good price, and all is pretty authentic.
I would say
like you compare Vietnamese food here to Vietnam, it's pretty good. Same thing with Korean barbecue.
Any Asian food.
A lot of different Asian countries come here and start restaurants. It's very common. So you do have that benefit.
Basically now talking only about food, like the other reason is like why foreigners love Taiwan is the food here, because it's like food heaven. I think the most interesting for me is like I never ate seafood before. I mean, like in Poland we eat like fish once a month. And here it's like everyday's life. What my friends like mostly are impressed in Taiwan is the one restaurant in Geelong we went. and they see like there's a fish in aquarium, and they see us pointing at the fish, and they see the boss catching that fish and going to the kitchen, and they're like, whoa, they're gonna cook this fish right now for us? Like, well, this is Taiwan, you know, fresh is the best, you know.
I think the best restaurants typically are the ones that they make one thing. They'll have 10 people in the back making one kind of dumpling. I really like how they focus so much energy on one thing that they know they can do well.
Yeah, they craft it for like sometimes few generations. Like it's like opened by grandpa and like grandson now is still like working on it. So just the difference is he's better with the Facebook and social media.
Yeah, but you still see the old pictures in the back with the president from the
Yeah,
80s when he visited.
Maybe Bill Clinton.
Maybe a magazine article that was written about it. Yeah, and they always have an award.
On the national TV.
National TV.
National TV.
Love that.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, you want to cook something, like, and people come there. If it's good, they come back. Probably extend the time limit here already. Like we've been talking at least like half an hour. And the most important things that we all come with is foreigners love Taiwan because of the weather, because of the traveling options, because of the food, because of the living expenses, and learning the culture and the language is also fascinating while you're living here. So I would say living in Taiwan is like never-ending fun for a person from abroad because there's so many things to do. They're relatively cheap, and the level of living is amazingly high. The food you get here, the healthcare or whatever electronic products you need, they're top quality, but still reasonable price. So here is the question: if you think there is something we forgot, we didn't mention, please write us a comment, and we're gonna know what are the other things that foreigners love in Taiwan. And here's the another thing: make sure you subscribe to Timmy's Instagram account because he's living a very interesting life, and it's worth exploring that too. I'm gonna write a link in the description. And thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I'm gonna see you next time. Have a good day. Bye. 爱心，爱心，爱心，爱心，爱心，爱心。Okay. 爱心。Okay. Okay. Thank you.